There are those in Congress who are sowing so much division, they're willing to shut down the government. A government shutdown could impact everything from food safety to cancer research to Head Start programs for children. Funding the government is one of those basic responsibilities of Congress. And it's time for Republicans to start doing the job America elected them to do.
There was President Biden over the weekend slamming House Republicans over the budget battle that we've been talking about this morning, the ongoing government funding stalemate. New York Congressman Mark Molinaro and Mike Lawler, both considering working with Democrats now to fund the government. They're reportedly willing to consider a discharge petition to force votes on a short-term funding bill if Republicans cannot get on the same page. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman Carlos Gimenez. He's a member of the House Armed Services and Homeland Security Committees and a member of the Select Committee on China. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. Where do you fall on all of this?
Well, what I fall on is that we have a small group of Republicans that are hard against a continuing resolution. And look, 98% of the conference is perfectly fine with it's called a CR, but it's really a funding resolution, because a CR means that you're funding the government the same way that it's running right now. The funding resolution that we want to put forward also puts a rider in that forces the Biden administration to secure the southern border, and it has an 8% cut in government spending. So it's actually a funding resolution. I think that's a really good compromise. I think it gets us the 45 days we need in order to finish all of our appropriation bills. And so, you know, we got to get those 5 or 6 Republicans to change their minds. If not, you're kind of forcing those moderate Republicans to start working with the Democrats. I think that's the last thing we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you've only got the week left to get the appropriations bills done. I guess the issue here is that if you're talking about a continuing resolution and you're doing a giant, top line number, rather than doing the individual single appropriations bills, you'll end up spending more. And that's what those 5 Republicans don't want to do.
No, actually, the funding resolution actually has an 8% cut. So that CR that we're talking about isn't continuing the government at the same level. We've already reached an agreement on the top line number. Now all we got to do is get the work done on the different appropriations bill. 4 of these are actually going to come to the floor this week if those Republicans that are kind of holding out allow the rule to go through. Then we can actually start voting on bills and appropriation bills to start to reduce the size of government. I think we have 4 of them. 2 of them reduce the size of government. 2 actually, we have defense, which we actually need to increase defense spending, and then Homeland Security, and then 2 others actually reduce it with the commitment that the other appropriations bills that actually have deep cuts to government will be coming in the next 30 to 45 days. And we have that commitment from, our Speaker. We need to get together, need to put our differences aside, and we need to get these 5 or 6 Republicans on board and do the work that the Speaker laid out for this week. Put that to the Senate, and then,
let me ask you a question, because you've been very good on the border. And one of the issues here with regard to the pushback on that continuing resolution you're referring to, which I spoke with Jim Jordan and my guests all about yesterday, is the fact that there's more money. People want to send more money to Ukraine. And I'd like to know your response to the critics who ask why we've spent $113 billion to Ukraine, helping the Ukrainian border, and yet we can't spend a dime on our own border.
Well, that's a red herring. Actually, the problem at the southern border isn't money, it's policy. We've had all the money in the world. I mean, we were working under a Democrat budget, for God's sakes, for the last year, and we still have millions of migrants flowing through during the Biden administration. So that's a red herring. Actually, it's the policies that the Biden administration has implemented, the policies that they took away, the Trump-era policies they took away, are the direct cause of the problems at the border. It's not money.
Here's Congressman Jim Jordan on all the money sent to Ukraine. Watch.
Frankly, with the Ukraine question, no one can ever answer the fundamental question: what is the goal? What is the objective from what is it to get Russia out of the eastern Ukraine? Is it to get them all the way out of Crimea, which they've had since 2014? They took when President Obama was with their administration. And until someone can define the goal, I don't think I should continue to vote to send tax dollars from the hardworking people of the 4th District of Ohio. I don't think we should keep sending American tax money there if no one can tell us what the objective is.
What is the objective, Congressman?
No, he's got a good question. I mean, look, you asked me about the southern border and funding the southern border, and I told you that the funding the southern border isn't the issue.
No,
it's policy.
I asked you about
Biden
funding
policy.
the border relative to the money to the Ukraine. That's what these 5 Republicans who are pushing back are upset about, that there's so much money going to Ukraine and there is still this wide open border. I agree with you. It's about policy at the southern border, 100%. But there is also some incentives to keep them there and release them back into the system. Why? What are you going to do to stop that?
We have to pass the continuing resolution that puts H.R. 2 as a rider on it and then forces the Biden administration to implement the policies that will stop this flood of illegal immigration at the southern border. That's what we have to do. And then pass our appropriations bills. That's what we have to do. As far as Ukraine is concerned, the only thing that I see in this bill, in the DOD bill, is $300 million that has been there since 2016, about 7 years, which is for training the Ukrainian military. There's no aid involved in that. And so, yeah, I think that if we somehow now start to cut and run and not even train the Ukrainians, I mean, what does that do to our credibility around the world as a security partner? That's my issue, too. It's not just about Ukraine. It's also about Taiwan. What is China? What will China look into us cutting and running from Ukraine right now, especially just training the Ukrainian soldiers? What does that do to our credibility, to our security partners around the world that are actually, relying on the United States to try to keep them safe and also try to keep China at bay? So it's not just about Ukraine. It's about, security around the world and, frankly, security here in the United States.
All great points. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for your time this morning. We so appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.